We're in St. Donatus, and I'm going to begin this segment with an apology to you, the viewer, because despite our best attempts and the latest equipment and technology, our cameras are not going to do this place justice. This is Carrie. Carrie, we're in Iowa's oldest barn.
Correct.
Let's just wrap our heads around that. Iowa's oldest barn. That's something else. Can we explain the space that we're in first, and then we'll talk about why we're here?
Okay, so this space that we're standing in is our tap room. The barn is actually a Luxembourg structure. It was built by Luxembourgers back in the 1800s. Supposedly this was built in 1839 before Iowa was even a state.
So this barn is older than the state of Iowa.
Yes.
So these people come from Luxembourg, and they build this barn.
Yes.
In 1839. That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm sorry, you keep going on, because the history of this place is overwhelming.
And so people often think that when they walk in, they're going to see like one big open space in this barn, but it's built in multiple levels for a reason. So it's very similar to many of the barns in Europe, and the levels were for different purposes. So the animals were down below, there was grains and hay and things like that in here, and then the families actually lived in here.
And that's it. I mean, when you come here, you think barn, you have an idea in your head. I imagine that's a big part of when people come here, how blown away we are by the levels. It's like the greatest, it's like a treehouse meets castle meets, it's insane.
Yeah.
So the space that we're in is the tap room. They would have used this for what back in the day?
This was probably living quarters, because there is stucco on the interior walls in here, and that was generally where the families lived, and the windows are also larger.
So they would live in the barn. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, was anyone born in the barn?
I'm sure they were.
I mean,
they
is that where the saying
left the door open
that's
too.
where the saying comes from. It all comes together. How does one get possession of Iowa's oldest barn? You've had this place for a couple of years now, right?
Yeah, we've had it for we're 3.5 years right now.
I mean, are you Googling oldest barn?
No,
and then there it is for sale.
No, we were looking.
Is there an app for that where you swiped old barns?
No, we just kind of stumbled upon it. We live just up the road from here, and we'd been looking for some place for a microbrewery, a small brewery, and that kind of fell through. We were looking at a property in Dubuque, and sitting at the table one Sunday morning, my husband says, "Hey, look at this place. This is just down the road. Let's go see what this is." And we came down and were able to get into the barn and walk around, and at that time it did not look like this. There wasn't even water in the barn when we bought it. We put all the water and sewer in and rewired it, and it was full of a lot of stuff.
So the Dubuque plan that you wanted,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can say this because I didn't have to go through everything that you guys went through, but thank God that didn't happen, because what you've done here is incredible. There's only one space like this in the world. So how much work is it to get a barn that's from 1839 up to the standards, this incredible place that you have now? Like, that's got to be...
So let's see, we've
she
owned
wants
it
to
for...
strangle me for asking this question, right? This seems like it's not as much fun as maybe I suspect it was.
It took a lot longer than we had anticipated. So like I said, we've had it for 3.5 years, and we just brewed our first batch of beer 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So the plan has always been to do the microbrewery, but for the last couple of years, you've had like the bed and breakfast, right?
So yeah, there is a separate building on the property that has a guest house. It has 6 bedrooms and a couple of apartments, small apartments and stuff in it, but we didn't start working on the barn until the spring of 20, which was wonderful because it was COVID. There was nothing else to do.
Right, plenty of time.
So we started working on it then, and we actually opened for a couple of months. So we decided to open just the tap room here and bring in some other, we serve all Iowa beers. So we opened for a couple months in the fall of 2020, and people loved it, and we had no heat. You could see through every window and door, and it was pretty interesting at that time, and people didn't want us to close then. So.
That's important to you, that the beer that you were selling, and I imagine you'll continue to sell in addition to the beers you're making.
Yes.
It's important to you that it's Iowa beer.
Yes. The number one question when you walk in here, because of where we're located, is what's the closest to Busch Light?
Right.
Because this is Busch Light country.
Sure.
And when we first opened, we got a lot of feedback that, oh, if you guys don't serve Busch Light, you're never going to make it. Nobody's ever going to come here. Right. And we don't serve domestic beers. And so we serve Ruthie, which isn't light. It's not a light lager, but we actually almost became the #1 in-house account for XL Brewing because of the amount of Ruthie. Per capita, St. Donatus is like around 120 people.
Right.
And so the per capita consumption of Ruthie is amazing. It's
Wow.
off the charts. It's like
Wow.
when they first saw us, they're like, where is that place? And
What's
who are
going
they?
on in
We
St.
need to go
Donatus?
find them. And then they show up and they go, you're kidding.
Right, right.
And yeah.
It makes a lot more sense when you walk in the
we have
door.
a really fun relationship with them.
You started brewing a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And by the time you see this, it'll be right around the time that they're open for the season.
Yeah.
So what beers are you working on right now?
So the first 2 we did were lagers just because of the temperature. We're in a barn. We don't have all the bells and whistles and space to do like cooling rooms and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's 50 degrees down there. It's perfect for brewing lagers. So we brewed a couple of lagers. Those aren't going to be on tap when we open. They need to lager a little bit
So there'll
longer
be something
than
later in
that.
the spring, early in the summer.
Yeah. Those will be on sometime in April.
You've got the flag of Luxembourg behind you.
Yes.
Explain to me how important that is here in St. Donatus. I mean, obviously, the people that built this were from Luxembourg. Can you kind of walk me through the Luxembourg heritage of the space that we're in?
This whole area, St. Donatus and into Dubuque and down to Macokota and Cascade, there were lots and lots of Luxembourgers that came over in the mid-1800s.
What was it about this part of the state that attracted them, you think?
It looks very much like the area in Luxembourg.
Right, right. So if
And-
you go
and
to
you had
Luxembourg, it
access
looks
to the
like
water,
Iowa, yeah?
Yeah, I think just some of the industry that was here as well.
Okay.
So they settled in this area, and it's still most of the families that live in this area came from Luxembourg descent. You can go up and down the roads and look at the mailboxes, and they're all Luxembourg names.
Right.
And so there's still a lot of family lineage here.
You mentioned that the people in St. Donatus have welcomed you. I wonder if the fact that there's beer in the barn kind of helped make things a little bit smoother, right?
We've got a lot of Ruthie drinkers. We're hoping that we're going to come up with a good lager that'll
Right.
switch them over to our beer.
It's absolutely breathtaking, and when you get here, you'll know why I won't shut up about how incredible this space is. Of all the places that we've been, and I haven't even had a beer yet, ladies and gentlemen. Of all the places that we've been, this is just really striking. Carrie, I cannot thank you enough for your time
Thank
and your
you.
talent and all that you've done to this wonderful barn. And it's going to be here probably 300-400 years after we're gone.
Exactly.
And hopefully they'll be here enjoying delicious craft beer. Carrie, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers!
Cheers.